Stinished It is recorded on the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and to any First Nations people listening.
We acknowledge the long history of storytelling undertaken on this land.
Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have asked for recognition in the Uluru Statement from the Heart.
We encourage you to listen to their important voices and to heed the simple, passionate plea for voice, treaty, truth when you vote in this year's referendum.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Stinished It, the podcast that Reuben and Jett record, well, sometimes when we get to it.
Yeah, I mean, this is our second time recording it, and it's every 2 weeks. And when we did start this, we said, let's do this every 1 or 2 weeks. So it's this is on schedule.
That's right, we're on schedule.
Yeah,
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'm Jett, by the way. You said
hi.
Reuben and Jett. You're Reuben, I'm Jett.
Reuben, that's me.
Yep. Yeah, I thought
Fantastic.
we should just, because this is an audio
medium
format.
Wait, I thought we were on camera.
Oh
no.
I mean, I do have cameras hidden around the area
that's
here.
okay
It's
then.
just
I feel so much better.
that's
now you
uploaded
said
to
that.
a different place, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to tell you what place.
Huh.
You can just
Mildly
use your
concerning.
imagination to figure out what it is.
Let's glide right past that and on
Okay.
with the episode. 'Cause I don't want to think about the implications of this.
All right, sure.
Do you want to tell us how the show works?
How this show works?
How does this show work?
Oh, this show works. So it's called Stinished It, where we talk about things we've started, finished, and things that are coming up. So these things are maybe books or shows or movies or anything really.
Anything.
Like anything, any sort of like entertainment, might not even be entertainment, that we've
Yep.
started, finished, and we are looking forward to coming out.
Yeah.
So, we go through the things that we've recently started, followed by the things we've finished, and so basically the order that I've just said
Yep.
3 times now. We do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've had a bit of time since last episode. Again, we've had 2 weeks. I don't know how your 2 weeks have been, but I surprisingly have packed it full of stuff that I've started and finished,
You've been doing so much stuff.
to the point where I really don't have much coming up now because I've just ran through a bunch of stuff. Not really intentionally. I just sort of, I had the past weekend, I ended up watching 3 movies over the 3 nights. We had the long Easter weekend. I haven't, just before that, I don't know if you remember, Reuben, but I was saying to you, I really haven't watched a movie in ages.
That was the conversation we had.
A real conversation.
Yeah.
Not even staged for the podcast. Just a real...
Just a real actual conversation.
A lot of the conversations I have
Yeah.
with you since in the past 2 weeks have been staged for the podcast. And
Yes.
I'm like, I can mention this and it'll be a funny moment. But this
Yeah.
was a real comment that I made.
Just a real genuine conversation that
Yeah.
we had, not for content.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I really just, I hadn't watched a bunch of movies in a while. So to watch 3 in a row, to varying quality, I might add. It really threw me through a loop. And I'm like, wow, a lot's going into my eyes. So yeah, I've been doing all. How's your 2 weeks been?
It's been great.
Yeah?
I've had such a great time.
That's good.
I've done probably less things than you, but I have enough to talk about.
Just in general, like the things that you've been starting and finishing, or in general have been doing less than me?
Probably both, actually.
Because I think you overestimate the amount that I do in 2 weeks.
Yeah, maybe. I just know that I've spent some time with family and some time, well, both at work and off work, both
Sure.
of which are kind of flat and like toothpaste when you try to talk about them. So
Yeah,
I just
great.
assume by default that you've done more than me. but
Sure.
perhaps
Well,
not.
I assume
Yeah.
by default that you've done more than me because,
Put it this way, I haven't watched 3 movies in a weekend.
that's disappointing. You have before, though.
Oh, yeah.
There have been
We've
times
done
that-
3 in a day.
We've done
before.
3 in
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah.
You had that during COVID. Was it when you had COVID or something? You watched.
I never actually had it. I just kept getting locked down.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you watched like how many movies in the span of the 2 weeks
Ooh.
you were locked down?
I don't remember the details. I think it was something like 24 in a month.
That's insane.
It was...
That's almost one a day.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It was a time.
Did you enjoy it?
I had a great January 2022.
January 2022.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you think you'll ever repeat it?
I was thinking about this the other day.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Really?
I doubt it.
That's just going to be like your
when's that
peak
gonna come
movie
up again?
consumption.
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive. I don't
It's
think
impressive.
I've ever done
It's
that.
like, I mean, I know that I've peaked. I'm not ashamed to admit
Okay.
it, you know? It's all downhill from here.
But is that like movie peak or is that just you peak? Like,
I was just kind of interpreting it more generally.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So the best that you can do in your life is just watch a bunch of movies.
A bunch of other people's stuff.
Yeah, great. Did you have opinions on them, or was it just like, no, this is just...
Yeah, I had opinions on
the point of this
them
is
at the
just
time,
to consume. Okay.
No, yeah.
At the time, not anymore?
I couldn't tell you anymore.
So the peak of your life,
Yeah.
let me get this straight.
Yeah.
Peak of your life was
Yep.
consuming a bunch of stuff, having thoughts on that stuff, and then just forgetting it.
Yes. That's fair.
So what lasting impact did this peak of your life have
Very
on yourself and the rest of society?
Look,
'Cause
to be fair,
Yeah.
some of it is quite memorable.
Okay.
There are some things that
Name
I'm still
one
thinking
memorable
about.
thing.
Jurassic Park, the first one.
Okay, well, that's
want me to keep
memorable for a
going?
lot of people. Name the second memorable thing.
Promising Young Woman.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good one. Name
Yeah,
the
do you
third
want me to keep
memorable... I'm
going?
just going to keep going.
Yeah,
until-
yeah. The TV show Chernobyl.
Okay. Name the fourth memorable thing.
I can't.
Yes! I
You
gotcha.
happy?
I gotcha, you fuck. I gotcha.
I hope you're happy.
I am. I'm
So
very
I
pleased.
could only name 1/8 of the things that I watched in January.
Yeah, that was quick maths. Was it?
Yeah. Well, one of them was a TV show, so it was also a lie.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't count.
yeah.
So, good maths, bad truths.
I watched Us. The movie that you
Us
wanted
is
me to
really
watch
good. I
for a
did
long
want you
time.
to watch that.
Mm.
And you watched it.
And I watched it and
Yeah.
I forgot it just now. So what does
Ah.
that say about your recommendations, if anything?
I think it says that the peak of your life was pretty abysmal.
It was probably pre-Us, and then I've just kind of forgotten it because it was on the way down.
But what do you mean by pre-us?
Well, like, I don't know when in the month I watched that. But if I peaked
Oh,
in this kind of giant
okay,
gorge of media,
I'm sorry, just using the word us in a sentence
it's
is...
a horrible
it's
movie
really,
title.
it's bad.
It's right up there with Men and
Men's a
Room
bit- oh.
and The Room, all these horrible movie titles that you just
Yeah.
can't use
Mostly
in
ones that have
a
room in
sentence.
them.
Mostly Room.
Yeah.
Mostly trying to tell the difference between Room and The Room, to be honest.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty annoying. But so there's Us with Jordan Peele's films. Like obviously the third one, Nope, is also kind of like that.
It's hard to talk about,
Yeah.
but nothing like Us.
Us is pretty bad. Get Out's fine. Like you can.
We
say-
went to see Us. What?
Yeah. We
Yeah.
went to see Nope. It sounds like you've just like, I don't know,
Like
walking
swallowed
down
the
the
end of your
street,
sentence,
like I don't know, tripped, and you're like, oh nope,
Nope.
tripped is a bad word. You know
Yeah,
what I mean. You're
I
like
do.
saying something, you're like, nope.
No.
Nope.
It sounds
None of
like
that.
two people are telling a story,
Yep.
but part of it's secret, and the second one's just like giving them a kick in the shins.
Oh,
yeah, we went to see. Nope.
That's a good example. I don't know what the fuck my street walking how to
Me
trip.
neither.
Yeah, it's
But it
really
was
bad.
all in your embodiment
Yeah,
as
yeah.
you said nope. I went,
Yeah.
oh, I know what that was.
Yeah, we just went to the cinema. We went and saw Get Out. That's just someone walking down the street, and just a local just hates visitors and like Get out, leave this cinema complex.
That's fantastic.
Oh, they're leaving the cinema.
Yes.
And they're there too late. They're dawdling because they just came out of Get Out and
Yep.
they're talking about it because it's such an interesting film.
Compelling movie.
And then the owner of the cinema is sick of them just
Yep.
standing there when
Get
the
out!
cinema's meant to close. Like, Get Out. Oh, we went and said,
Get
Get out.
out.
Yeah, nice. That's
Perfect.
good. I like
That was
yeah.
really entertaining.
That was really
Yeah.
entertaining. Just like Get Out.
Very good. Well, yeah.
Yeah?
Entertaining, yeah.
Yeah. Get out. You're talking about it too long. Leave. So I'm just a cinema person.
Yeah,
And the owner
yeah.
of the cinema. Yeah.
Very good.
I'm gonna detach from the owner of the cinema persona now.
Thank you. That's a huge relief.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't trust you though.
Get out! Yeah, you should.
There it is,
So yeah,
Yeah.
Now your past 2 weeks didn't match up to that, but that's okay.
Yeah. That's okay.
That's okay.
Who's going first?
I think. Okay, yeah, we should get into the things that we started.
Yes.
Did I go first last time?
I think you went first.
I think I
last
went
time.
first, so I think that means you should go first
Okay.
this time.
I'm going first this time then.
Yeah. So what did you start, Reuben?
The thing that I have started is a book.
Mm.
It's called Children of Ruin.
Scared of the spiders and she's scared of the dark.
Okay.
It's by Adrian Tchaikovsky, who sounds like a boring old Russian author,
It does.
but it's not.
Ah.
He's from Britain, and he's middle-aged now,
Mm.
so that makes him vaguely contemporary.
Is he Russian?
I think there's Polish heritage.
Mm.
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 I think we
This-
should dive into the etymology of that.
Okay.
Not
let
on
me
the
just
podcast,
reach for
just
Google.
separately.
Oh, just later.
Yeah.
I want one of our famous off-air conversations.
Yeah. That are
Yeah.
staged for the podcast.
Oh, those ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
It's the second book
Mm.
in a series. It's hard sci-fi.
Oh.
This is something that I had not really encountered in my life until the last couple of years.
What? Sorry
Yeah.
to keep interrupting.
Yeah, you're gonna ask me to define it now.
Yeah,
aren't you?
what do you mean by hard sci-fi?
yeah.
Like on the scale of
Mhm.
Spaceballs to Dune.
Yeah.
What is it past June?
It's Dune and beyond, I would say.
July?
Very good.
Thank
Yes.
you. Okay,
Yes.
beyond June.
June would probably be included because it's got those kind of elements of sociological storytelling and maybe the ideas are a bit more important than the characters.
Okay.
But then, there are some who go harder. There's a series by a Chinese author whose name I'm going to mispronounce, but it's Cixin Liu, The Three-Body Problem, and the two sequels to that. And those are like quite dense.
Right.
And this book, Children of Ruin, reminded me of those in a way as well.
So what's Children of Ruin about? Give me a rundown.
All right. So it's kind of got two parallel tracks
Now that I
going
definitely understand what hard sci-fi is.
Yeah.
You've explained it extremely well, and I have
Have
a
I?
solid... No, I have no fucking clue what it is.
Damn, I was so hopeful.
I just know it's something past June.
Yeah,
it's like more
correct.
sci-fi than June.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a fair description now that I've given it, but I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, again, doesn't have any like
All right.
solid understanding in my head at all.
Let me give you an idea.
Okay.
All right. So this book is in
You've given me
two
an
tracks,
idea, it just doesn't make sense to me.
and that's hard sci-fi, baby.
Great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well
All right,
done.
what's the story?
So one part of it's kind of is a sequel to the first one. So
Yep.
there's this kind of civilization of spiders and humans who are cooperating to kind of go spacefaring, and so that's one part of it. That's set in it's called the present. It's far in the future of Earth.
Okay, question about the spiders.
Yes.
Regular sized spiders or large
No.
spiders? Oh,
Big spiders.
okay.
Big spiders. For reasons that are covered in the first book.
Okay.
That aren't important necessarily here, depending on how
But-
long I have. for this
Sure.
segment.
But you got
Yeah.
big spiders and
Big
spiders and regular sized people, not
big
big
spiders
people.
and regular sized people. That
Okay.
is correct.
All right,
yes.
good,
So
just checking.
vaguely equivalent in size.
Brilliant.
Then the other part is set in the inverted commas past. So the past of that world. It's still far in our future because that lets you kind of get away from the wait, how exactly did we get here questions, and you can kind of just wave it away as a kind of there was an apocalypse and then there was a second like Earth Empire and then get on with the stuff that Adrian actually wants to write about.
Sure. Yeah.
And in that section of the book, and it keeps flipping between the two, it's an octopus civilization.
Oh.
Yeah.
So now we've got regular sized people, large spiders,
Correct.
and what size are their octopi?
The octopodes,
Podes?
octopi. Look, the correct term is technically octopuses, which is really
That
boring.
sounds weird.
It sounds
okay.
It sounds
What
weird.
what
and
size
wrong.
are the octopuses?
The octopuses
The
are
octopus, it sounds
regular
really-
regular size.
Oh.
Regular sized, I know.
Okay.
Because getting bigger doesn't help them evolve. It doesn't give them any advantage, especially in the environment that they are in.
Right.
But what is so great about these books is that they're about two things. One of them is like different ways of thought, and one of them is about like different ways of communicating. And just those two is enough to fill chapters and chapters and chapters of really interesting, compelling ideas.
Right, sure.
And sometimes some characters.
And sometimes some characters.
That's all I'm going to
Okay.
promise.
So is hard sci-fi a lot of thinking and not much character work? Like, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you feel things, it's often, I don't know, the events won't be like the death of a family member necessarily, although there are definitely individual characters who will, you know, fall in love and die and all those human things that we consider to be part of kind of our experience. But you also see like the collapse of entire civilizations to a plague or to a civil war. And you do feel an emotional connection to the species in a really bizarre way that I've never kind of experienced before.
Interesting.
It's really interesting.
That emotional connection to the species, is it like you impart a personality to that species? Like, it's like, the only thing that I can really connect to right now is like fantasy, where it's like, we have dwarves and they're like cave dwelling people who like mining and are pretty hardy. And I have a personality. So yeah, that's the personality I associate with that. So if anything goes wrong with them, maybe in their lifestyle, like then I feel for them as a species. Is it like that, where you have a personality associated to the species, or is it more complex than that?
It is like that, because they evolved to think like spiders or octopuses rather than humans. You do They have a shared set of characteristics, but there is more nuance than that also. There are individual characters. I think it's really significant that Adrian Tchaikovsky chose spiders for the first one and to a lesser degree octopuses, because it's like this inhuman thing that we fear almost as a fundamental. And so to give them names and life and a kind of language and family challenges our preconceptions in a way that using conventional aliens probably wouldn't, because we have some concept of this being that thinks nothing like us.
Yeah, but we do have some sort of relation to them. We know what spiders are. We know what octopuses are.
Yeah, and we already have an emotional reaction to them that can be challenged.
Yeah,
and he will employ a lot of in this series in both books. There's often a name for 2 or 3 of the key inverted commas characters. So one might be called Portia and Viola and Bianca and Fabian of the spiders, and then the octopuses have names like Paul and Salome and Lot and things like that. And it's not actually the same octopus each time. It's often generations and generations later. But because the text says call her Portia or this is Paul, you can draw a through line, and so that kind of emotional connection is almost cheated.
Okay, because it's like, here's this character that you've known a bit of the story about, and then a couple of generations down the line, here's this other character that's related to them. We're just going to use the same name, so you have that same emotional.
Yeah. And so you might see one Paul who is kind of building the first octopus cities under the ocean and hoping that his kin can, grow to be a functioning civilization, and then years and even centuries later, you'll know another Paul who kind of sees the start of the collapse of that civilization. And even though you know the different characters, you feel a kind of enhanced grief because he was there at the beginning.
Right, yeah.
So, it's not complicated, but it's quite efficient as a technique,
That sounds really, really cool. I don't like the names. If Paul is a genuine name of an octopus, is it a genuine name?
It is. There's a reason that all the octopuses are drawn from the Bible as well.
Okay.
That's not random. Yeah.
They're just like the Christians got to them as well.
Kind of, yeah. It's actually more done as a practical joke by the engineer who creates them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's kind of poking fun.
So it's like adding sugar, spice, and everything nice. Oh, plus a little bit of Christianity in there too for fun.
Just because humanity is never going to escape the grasp of that cultural memory.
Yeah.
Even if it's our octopus successors. But the animals don't call themselves by that name.
Right.
So
okay.
There's all sorts of layers like that.
Interesting. I feel like I have a bunch of questions about this world.
Yeah. It's really fascinating.
It's probably too many questions.
Possibly. How long have we got?
I don't think I can also grasp the questions. I think I'm just, I don't know. I think I look forward to hearing about this when you've finished it. So how far are you? How far are you?
Most of the way.
Most of the way.
Most of the way.
Okay. Is this the final book or
no?
Is there more?
There's one more.
One
more.
more.
A trilogy. Well, I think it's a trilogy. There's 3 out.
Okay. Is it a new sci-fi novel or is it
relatively? So there's 3 books. The latest one, Children of Memory, came out at the very end of 2022. So. Yeah, they're still quite contemporary, although these 2 have been out a little longer.
So there could be more, though?
There could potentially be more, depending on what happens in that last one.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's pretty exciting. You're in it? You're like, this is good and this is...
And so at times I struggle with the... just the way that it is different from the storytelling that I'm used to. But then there was a moment where I was reading in the park yesterday and... I was there for a few hours, but I remember this one segment, I think it was it was about 46 pages, where I was just gripped by the tale of what was going on. And I come in and out a little bit, but I'm definitely going to see what's there because it's challenging and rewarding. And great.
Sounds really unique. But it might not be if there's hard sci-fi like this.
I think there might be more out there.
But. Yeah. But it sounds great. Very good.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess I should go into the thing that I started. What did I start? Well, let me check my notes here.
Yeah. You would think that holding 3 things in your mind is quite easy.
Oh, it's terribly difficult.
Listeners, you would be astonished.
Try
at how
holding
easy.
3 things in your mind right now. Try it.
Try it right now.
Oh, you're doing it?
Okay. Well, you're better than us.
Yeah,
and
that's
you
pretty
should be doing
impressive,
our
actually.
job. Yeah.
That's
Look.
if you guys want to, whoever can hold 3 things
Yes.
in mind, you come and guest host on
Get
the
in
podcast.
contact. We'll
Get in
put you
contact.
on
We'll
an
be like,
episode.
wow, you're peak human.
Yep. Done.
You're peaking every day of your life.
We'll get you to say your 3 things into the microphone. We'll applaud, and that'll be the whole episode. Because what more do you need?
You don't even need to elaborate on
No,
them. You can
not
just
at all.
name them.
Yeah.
Hold them in your head and name them.
The only reason we talk about them is because we're desperately trying to remember the next 2 in our
And I
minds.
still can't.
And you
I'm
still
still
have
having
them.
to check
You're
my
looking
notes.
at the page. and
I'm
you
looking
still
at the
have them.
page. I found it.
Great.
I know what it is.
What have you started?
Wait, hold on. Okay, yeah, I found it. I got
Okay,
it.
great.
The thing that I've started recently, which I didn't know if this was a thing that would interest me, even though it sounds like a thing that would interest me, but it just didn't really grab me at the time it came out.
Okay.
But I've entered into it. I've started it, and it's the Guardians of the Galaxy video game.
Okay.
This game came out. Now I should have written this down. I think last year, maybe the year before.
I think it was last year.
Yeah. And it is a third-person action-adventure video game featuring the Guardians of the Galaxy, and that like ticks a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah.
It's a new game. It looks great. It seems pretty interesting. I've been a fan of Marvel for a long time. Really like the Guardians of the Galaxy films.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe one of the things that set me off playing this game when it came out was it was created by the same people that not the studio behind it, but the publishers behind it, Square Enix, and they published the Avengers game that came out a few years back.
Yes.
And that was
People
terrible.
had things to say.
Yeah, people had a lot of things to say. It was full of like microtransactions. The story was fine, maybe, but the gameplay was terrible. I actually started that game and played like the first couple of missions, and couldn't do it.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's
Does
one
that
of the
happen often to you with video games? Like, what's your rate of like putting something down in the first few hours?
It's pretty low.
Yeah.
I generally make sure that I want to play something before I play it.
Yeah.
Because if I don't do that, then I like video games can be expensive. It
Yeah.
can be anywhere between like, if you're buying a new game, anywhere between $60 and $120.
Yeah.
I'm not going to like drop $120 on a game that I am not going to enjoy.
That you don't
You
know,
know?
for almost sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I might get a game that I think I'll enjoy. I'll be like, oh, it's fine. But yeah, so often that doesn't really happen. However, now that things video game subscription services like PlayStation Plus, the new PlayStation Plus subscription, now that exists and it's sort of like a Netflix where you can download any of the games as long as you subscribe to it, that increases my likelihood of
Just giving something a go.
picking up a game and dropping it, but also trying games that I wouldn't otherwise because I'm like, I don't want to spend money on this. I don't know if I like it. I've actually played quite a few games that I wouldn't normally play because of that. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so I Guardians of the Galaxy, it's been on PlayStation Plus for a while. It was one of the games on there. And I thought, I should try it. And I've had it downloaded for a while. And then the other day, I was like, you know what? I'm not really playing anything else. I'll dive into this. And it's pretty good. It's pretty good so far.
Right.
I'm quite enjoying it.
Yeah.
It sort of kicks off and it really gets you into the world of Guardians of the Galaxy. Pretty like it's not too shy about it, which is great. It also it has a lot of music to it. Like there's an actual soundtrack, not just a video game score, which I love video game scores, but it's music from the 80s, like songs you know, some songs you don't know, and they integrate it within the game, which is really cool because music is a big part of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Huge part.
Yeah, especially like in the movies. So it's cool to see that they've carried that over to the games. Game.
Is it the same Guardians team?
It's the same Guardians team. So it's Peter Quill, Star-Lord, Root. I meant to say Rocket and Groot.
Rocket and Groot.
Rocket,
Yeah.
Groot, Gamora, and Drax. Okay. Same team.
Same team as the first Guardians film.
Yes. They also look vaguely like the movie counterparts in the same way that the Avengers game did. It's like, here's similar to the MCU design, but tweaked enough that you're like,
weird,
it's kind of uncanny.
Do you think that's an attempt to pull in MCU viewers who maybe don't play as many games?
Maybe it could be, but I don't know. I've actually, like, after settling into it, that sort of fades away and it feels like its own thing.
Becomes its own. Yeah.
However, one of the first things I did unlock was a Guardians film Groot skin. So you can change like the look of all the characters. So I could change that to the movie skin. But yeah, so it has a lot of inspiration, I think, from the movie with the music and the design. But something really interesting that it does is instead of like in the Avengers where you can choose from any of the characters, you actually are just playing as Peter Quill. You're just playing as Star-Lord. Yep. And instead of, playing as other characters, what you do as the commander, I guess, the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy, is you order the other characters. Not really order, but you sort of, there's an option to bring up a menu where you have the other characters of the Guardians of the Galaxy, the other members, in sort of a weapon wheel style thing.
Right.
And you can select one of them in the middle of combat.
Yeah.
Or not in combat if you need something that only Groot might be able to reach. With his long, like, spindly tree arms. And you can select Groot, and then you can select one of his sort of attacks or powers, and then he will go and do that.
Yeah.
So while you're shooting and flying around, and I don't know if you have like bombs or anything like that to throw, but like while you're engaging in like Peter Quill's combat, you can also say, hey, Gamora, can you go and like slice up this person over on the left here with your big sword?
Do things slow down, or does that have to happen in real time?
No, so it does slow down. So when you open the weapon wheel, it slows down time. Sort of like in Ratchet and Clank, that when you open the weapon wheel, it slows down. I think most games with the weapon wheel slow time down when you open it.
It would be an interesting challenge not to. That's why I was curious.
So it's really helpful, but it does actually kind of keep you in the flow because you can hold it down and select the thing that you want, and then like no time has passed, so you sort of it keeps it keeps it flowing, keeps it good.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. And I'm enjoying that it's something that I haven't really played in any other games, that sort of commanding other players to do things dynamic besides in like real-time strategy games.
Oh, that's true. Or occasionally there's a companion in these kind of more modern games, but it's usually quite a limited set of options.
Yeah. I suppose games like, some games like I think the Final Fantasy games, those have multiple characters. I don't know if you can play as multiple characters, but that has like turn-based strategy. So you're choosing which character to do what action. Kind of like that, but real time in a third-person action adventure perspective. So that's something really cool that I'm enjoying, is like a new thing that I haven't experienced.
Cool.
And another great thing about this game that I'm finding so far, I've only played a couple of hours of it.
Yeah.
But there's also some phenomenal dialogue. In this game. Dialogue is normally pretty clunky in games.
It's kind of bad most of the time.
Yeah, unless it's like scripted between two characters to like forward the story.
Yeah. It's
mostly go up to a person on the street and say, hi, have you seen this treasure chest that I'm looking for? And they say, no, I have not seen that treasure chest that you're looking for. However, the Jonathan in the tavern might have seen it. And you go to Jonathan, you say, hi, Jonathan. And Jonathan says, hello. And you're like, you have an option to say, have you seen the treasure chest? Or, fuck you, Jonathan, I hate your mum. Like, those are the you know, it's
really nuanced stuff.
Yeah.
I do think I've kind of jumped into video games in the last couple of years without having a full picture of where we came from, but it feels like that's one of the things that is changing fairly rapidly at the moment. Or maybe I'm just playing good games.
No, I think it's changing pretty slowly. Well, I think the storytelling games is changing for the better, but the dialogue tree sort of games, that the sort of role-playing games, those seem to be a bit stuck.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to do fluid dialogue like you would talk to a person in real life in a video game.
Especially to then write and voice record all of the different options. Whereas I guess if you're doing, the story cutscenes, you can make sure you get them right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what Guardians of the Galaxy does is dialogue will be happening around you. Like characters will be talking. Sometimes they'll be talking to you and asking you a question, but because it's most of the time you're around the other Guardians, there's there's 4 other Guardians who are contributing to the conversation, and you have a chance to chime in. So a little indicator will appear on the bottom with like Peter Quill's head on it, and then you hold down a button. I think it's L1, maybe it's R1, and then you get 2 options. It's like a positive or a negative option.
Yep.
They have that in a lot of games where it's like you can, when you're talking to someone, you can choose a, "Hey, kind sir, have you seen this treasure chest?" Or, "Screw you,
Fuck
man,
you,
I hate your mum."
Yeah.
So with this, you get to like hold down, a thing and with a set amount of time. So there's like a depleting time that you can jump in and make your response or make your contribution to. You choose like a more positive or a more negative option. These aren't always positive and negative. Sometimes it's like siding with Gamora instead of Drax. Like defending this person or trying to calm down the situation.
I was going to say, is there ever a reason to pick the negative option? But if it's that more interpersonal conflict,
a lot of
it's
it's that. Like Drax is untrusting of Gamora because Gamora is Thanos' daughter and Thanos killed Drax's family. Yeah. Also in this game, Drax has already killed Thanos, which is interesting.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
But he's still really distrusting of her. So he'll say some like, "Oh, why are we bringing her along?" And you can either say, "Look, we've got to bring her along because she got the map for us to get this treasure."
Yeah.
Or you can say, "She's actually been pretty good, so cool off on her, please."
Yeah.
And there's a third option as well, which is just let the time run out and don't respond.
Yes.
And that's happened to me a couple of times where I've done that, and I've hated it. Because I'm like, oh, I want to hear, because the dialogue will continue to happen.
Yes.
So I don't want to jump in too early to not hear stuff that other people are trying to say.
Right.
But I
So
don't
you're
want
running it down to the wire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But one time I missed it, and they're like, "Well, thanks for your input, leader." And I'm like, I tried. I just missed the timing. So yeah, it's not always like, "Thanks for not responding." It is just people continue talking.
Yeah.
Without your sort of leader input on, what
Sounds
characters should
great.
do.
I wonder what will happen like more long term as you get further into the game. I wonder how significant the consequences of those dialogue choices will be.
Already they've been it's added a lot of fun to the game because I've really only gone on one sort of main mission, and it's changed. You're chatting with characters as you're going along the mission. They will say, like I was having this mission with Rocket and we were talking about these bug sort of things that eat away at metals. And I was like, "Well, I can kill a bunch of these," and he was like, "Well, I bet I can kill more than you can." And then for the rest of the level, we were having this competition with a tally at the top of the screen of who's killed more.
That's the
like,
most Guardians thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, so it's like it changes how you're playing through each level in a really natural feeling way. Like I really feel like I'm the character of Peter Quill, a part of the Guardians. Anyway, it's a really cool game. There are a bunch of great cool things about it. Just one more really cool mechanic is when your character in a big fight, if the other Guardians members aren't doing too well, you can start a huddle where you bring everyone together and they might make comments. They might be like, "We're feeling overwhelmed. I don't know if we can do this." And you have, again, a dialogue option of 2 things. And you need to select the right one to pump up the team. Because if you select the wrong one, no one gets pumped up. Like this is meant to be a huddle where you're amping up your team members. But if you choose the right one, they'll be like, "Yeah, you know what? You're right." So you actually...
And those options wouldn't be marked. You'd have to...
No, you have to figure it out from
live.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
If they're saying we're overwhelmed or like we don't have... We're really hurt here. Whatever it is, you have to choose the right one. And so if you choose the right one, everyone gets a boost. Everyone like gets more powered up. Also a song plays, like Peter Quill starts a song at the end of the huddle and you all like jump out and it's really fun. But if you choose the wrong one, everyone else will be like, "Oh, okay, yeah," and not get any boost. But you still get a boost, which is interesting because Peter Quill is so arrogant.
Ego is
so it's
that
like,
big,
I'm
pumped up.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I've started and I'm really looking forward to getting through more of it and enjoying this game and everything that it brings.
Yeah. Hopefully you can give us an update when you're done, depending on
Hopefully.
whether or not you're swamped by
Depends.
things you've done that week.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. See.
So, speaking of things we've finished.
Nice segue.
Thank you.
Segue.
Thank you.
Don't draw attention to it or it becomes a useless segue.
Yeah, don't draw attention to it. Don't draw
See,
attention to it.
now I've completely stopped the forward momentum you had.
Yeah, I kind of really made a good segue and
really
then
did.
you just
You really
stopped
did.
it by commenting
Do you want to just
on
say it again and we'll pretend none of that happened?
Sure thing.
Right. Speaking of
The
things
weather
we've
today was
finished,
pretty alright.
I see where you're going with that. Yeah.
You know what else is pretty alright? Probably the thing you finished.
Nice. Actually, you are familiar with this one.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't
Oh,
expect
no.
to be kind of giving an update on this so soon after last episode, but we have played the board game A War of Whispers twice.
We have.
And so I'm calling that finished.
That's finished.
the kind of the introduction to that and the figuring out of what it is and how it plays and what it feels like. I'm calling that finished.
We also played it in its 2-player configuration and
Correct.
its 3-player configuration,
Yes.
which is more of the normal configuration, it seems.
Seems so.
Yeah. So yes, we've
I mean, I don't. We kind of somewhat disagree on which format we like better, so maybe that's a place to start.
Why don't you give a quick rundown of what it is again?
Sure.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a big round board. You rock up with 2 or 3 or 4 players, and there's 5 big empires fighting it out. There's like a blue bear and a yellow lion and whatever.
Kind of like a
else.
Risk sort of.
Kind of like a
board,
risk situation or a any of those games. But instead of picking one of those powers to players and then kind of bashing each other up until the end of the game and then counting up points, you secretly have allegiances to each of them. And so I might want those blue bears to do really well and I might want the brown horses to do not so well. But Jett would potentially rather have the brown horses do quite well for their own kind of individual reasons.
Yeah.
But all of that is secret information. And then throughout the game, there are some opportunities to make that public, which is kind of, we discovered can be a weakness or a strength to kind of declare your intent. And then I guess the only other really important mechanic is that at the start of every turn, each player puts their little agents into different councils, is the way it's framed. So I might say, I want some control over where the red empire's going. Or I want blue to do well, so I'm going to put mine there. Or if I do want brown to do badly, I might try and claim their actions and use them for nefarious or inefficient means.
Like chuck them in a way that does not advantage
Correct.
that team at all. Yeah. I have fallen in love with this game after 2 plays, which is
So cool.
kind of great. Even since you said it on the last episode, since you gave the rundown before we'd played it,
Yeah.
I was like, this sounds really cool. I can't wait to get into it. Honestly, games like this, like the Risk type moving regions, armies across the board, yada yada, they're a bit hit and miss for me.
They kind of have a reputation as being a little bit outdated. I mean, Risk
Yeah.
in particular is kind of, frowned upon by the real
board
hobbyists.
games,
Yeah,
yeah.
which I don't like that attitude, but I do think there are some serious issues with that game.
Yeah. But no, this one I've really, really liked. I like how it isn't a direct competition between
Yes.
players, because I find with those other games, if you're on the losing streak, you're like, well, it's just downhill from here, and I'm just playing to fight back against the other team who's eventually going to win.
100%.
So this gives you not only like a fighting chance to pull it back in, but because nobody knows what anyone else's intentions are for the most part of which region they want to win.
Yeah.
You constantly have agency towards that goal of winning, because you don't know how you're doing compared to anyone else.
Yes, and the fact that the allegiances aren't locked down means that, A, it feels less like a personal attack, and B, if you are losing really hard, you can kind of look at who else you think is doing well and try to throw your lot in with them by changing who you do support.
Yeah, which regions you support. Yeah. How did you find the 2 games that we played?
Yeah, look, I'm going to keep the game. I'm glad that I have
You're
it,
not
and
gonna
I've really enjoyed it. I'm not
Throw
going
it in the bin?
No, that would be a
return it.
huge waste.
Say,
Yeah.
hello, board game person that I bought this from.
I don't want
I don't like this game. And they say,
Is there anything wrong with it? I say no.
no.
No, there's nothing wrong with
Have you opened all the little bags in there?
Yes, all of them.
All of them?
All of them.
We only accept if you've opened none of the bags.
But we added an extra bag from home.
Oh, in that case, yes, you can return
Fantastic. Just kidding, I don't want to. I really like the game.
this. Okay.
Yeah.
Never. Why'd you come in?
I had fun.
Yeah, that's good.
I enjoyed it. I didn't get quite the
Get out!
experience.
Sorry, that's the person. That's the person in the
Good.
store getting frustrated that you that you
Very
came
good.
in to return a
It's
game
about
that you're not going to
wax
return.
lyrical about
Yeah.
how I actually liked it. They
Yeah.
don't want to hear that. Yeah.
No, I want to go.
I didn't have quite the experience I thought that I was going to have.
Mm.
I expected to have more of an emotional response and to feel more like a scheming kind of, spy in the shadows.
Mm.
I felt a bit more like just a bad mathematician who couldn't count to 4.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the mechanics of playing the game and the
Mm.
process of playing it. There's definitely heaps there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I like the mechanics of it. That's what I really jive with. The mechanics feel really tactile and approachable.
Yes.
And manipulatable.
Yeah.
Malleable. Like
Yeah.
in the way of, I want to try and do this.
Yes.
I want to try and move these regions in this way so that, some of them, are, the ones that I want to be failing are failing, and the ones that I want to be winning are winning, and also I want to hide the ones that I want to win.
Yeah.
I want to
But
hide.
not too much because there's only 4 rounds.
Yeah. So it's like, it's malleable in a way that it didn't take me long to understand the mechanics and to be
Yes.
able to feel good while playing them.
Yes, there's a lot to be said for a game where you don't have to say, "Oh, by the 3rd game of this, you're gonna love it because it's
Yeah.
so deep." It's
Mhm.
like, yeah, but I want to enjoy it the first time I
Yeah.
touch all the little bitty squares.
Yeah, I don't need something to be deep to enjoy it. I need it
Yeah.
to feel fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
interesting.
So,
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I've enjoyed you enjoying this because I really wasn't sure which way it was gonna go.
Right, yeah.
And of course, I could have had fun with it, irrespective of your opinion. But we live in the same house and we
Yeah.
play board games a lot, so it's really nice to discover it together.
Even
Even though technically I taught you the rules,
Mm.
we did the actual learning of it
together.
kind of in
Yeah.
sync. And you kind of crushed me initially. 'Cause
Oh,
I
yeah.
just missed a couple of things that were quite significant.
That was kind of a great benefit for me enjoying
Yeah.
it, to be honest.
yeah,
Winning out at the first time playing it
huge bonus
to a new game that I've never played before.
Yeah,
It does help.
Yeah.
Yeah. You saying it's a game that we sort of entered into together, discovered it, started playing
Yeah.
it together for the first time. That was cool, and both quite enjoying it. We've had that twice, I guess, recently
Yeah.
to find games that we kind of quite click with.
Yes,
Obviously, not obviously.
obviously to us.
Obviously to us. We've been playing the card game Dominion, which
Yes.
is a deck builder game, and that is that's my favorite game.
We kind of had our tiny minds blown a little bit. We
Yeah.
were like, but it's just cards.
It's just cards, but it's so
How's it so good?
satisfying to
Yeah.
play. It makes me
Yeah.
just saying it makes me want to play
Yes.
it now. I want to. Oh,
That's the only problem with War of Whispers. It isn't Dominion.
yeah, exactly. But it is a good hard game that I'm really loving Dominion, and I'm really loving War of Whispers. And
Yeah.
I think it's. I don't know if there's ever been really. I can't think of any games that satisfy all of my game needs. I don't know. So often when I'm playing board games, if it's not meeting these invisible needs that I can't really describe,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel worth it. Sometimes it's
Yes.
like, oh yeah, I do want to play a board game. Oh, this one seems good.
Yeah.
Like anytime I play Cluedo, I'm like, yeah, I'll play Cluedo. It's one of the options, and
Yeah.
it's better
Everyone
than
knows
Scrabble
it, I
right
guess,
now.
yeah.
I want to play it more than Scrabble.
Yeah.
But there's rarely been board games where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to break
I'll
it
play
out
that,
and play
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So finding Dominion and now War of Whispers,
Yeah.
it's really great to have
Yeah.
games like that. Do you have
I've-
any other games like that? Do you feel?
Yes,
Yeah.
but I've had trouble finding other people to share them with. And as much fun as I have, I own games that I'm very rarely going to get to play,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that. I derive joy from the thought of having them nearby.
That's funny.
I'm kind of a huge nerd in that
Yeah.
way.
Mm.
So it's always a bonus when I find someone else who'll play something
Yeah.
with me.
Mm.
Yeah. Do I have other games like that? Yes, I
Mm.
would. You mean that give me that feeling of I want to crack that out if someone so much as suggests it?
Yeah. Can you give me a rundown? Can you give me a list?
Yeah. I mean, Scythe comes to mind. I do genuinely love that game, even though it is quite weighty and long.
Yeah.
Just Just trying to flick through the other things I've played.
What do you think about that? I do think that one of the things that matches like what my needs is having a shorter game.
I'm really starting to appreciate the value of that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Because War of Whispers takes how long? Like 40 minutes, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's under an hour, I reckon.
Yeah.
Once you know what you're doing.
So any more than Side?
I'm totally mentally blanking on things right now because all I can think of is like 2-player games that we've played. But I'll come back with an update perhaps. Yeah.
Good. One of the ones that I like is Diplomacy. That's one that really clicks it for me, but is a big thing. And I'm also often bad at it.
When are you going to get that to the table?
Yeah, because that you need
I love that game.
How many people to play?
It's really 7 or nothing. There's variants for fewer, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's an hour, like a 3-hour, 4-hour
easily
commitment. So
when we've played in the past, we've rarely finished a game. We've often cut them short or called them as draws. Yeah. We've been to the state championships.
We have been to the state championship.
Jett did quite well.
I didn't do well. I did not do well. However, I did I won.
You did.
Best Italy.
You sure did.
For the tournament, I was the best.
Best result for the Italian player at the end of the game. Yeah,
there you go.
Best Italy, you said it.
Yeah.
Must be in the genes.
I didn't win that game as Italy. No. None of us I didn't win any game. No. But I played
I don't even know if we've been there for the Sunday of those 2-day tournaments. We normally play Saturday and then leave.
We're like, all right, thanks for the games, guys. Bye. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's a great example. Twilight Struggle, which we played once or twice, just the two of us.
Yeah.
Again, it's like a card-based war game that's quite heady and it's super heavy on the theme. But I guess I get some value out of games that put you in the headspace of the theme. And I felt so much like a Cold War power playing that in the sense that I don't even necessarily need influence in South America, but if you're even thinking about going for it, there is an imperative to stop you.
Right,
So it kind of really lent into that dynamic of 2-player games, which is often something that I find coming up as a kind of a negative or an unintended consequence. So, yeah, there's plenty of great games out there.
Yeah, I don't think that theme thing does it for me, or at least I don't enter into games thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to be this thing while playing it. So, I don't know, maybe it's just something that I haven't thought about enough to be a thing for me, but
then, I mean, often when I'm describing why I like games, I'm just listing mechanics or how it makes me feel to play. So I wonder if that's almost an inroad to me that's a bit of a lie, because it's not actually what I usually like about them necessarily.
Maybe.
It's something to think about.
Yeah. Cool. Great to hear an update on War of Whispers.
Yeah.
That was really good. Cool.
Nice to bring it back.
Yeah.
Now, we're up to what I've
finished.
Yes.
Something that I've finished.
Yes.
Now, we were going to record this episode last week.
We were.
Which was also right after Reuben and I decided to do a very silly thing of both going to the cinema together.
The same cinema.
Going to the same cinema together, driving there together.
We drove to Palace Cinemas, Pentridge Cinemas.
Pentridge Cinemas,
which is Palace. Which is part of Palace.
Palace Cinemas in Pentridge.
Palace, Coburg. It's in a giant castle as well.
Yep.
That makes it harder to remember somehow.
Yeah.
Pentridge Prison.
Castle,
Palace, Pentridge Prison.
Pentridge Cinema.
Yeah. We drove there.
We went there
together.
We drove there to go to the cinema.
Yeah.
And we drove there, entered into the palace. The palace.
That's a slight misrepresentation. I dropped Jett off and continued to find a park. But I think it serves our story better if we went in together.
We both walked in together.
Correct.
We both bought our tickets side by side at the register.
Yes.
And we handed over the money at the exact same time. We got our ticket at the exact same time. We walked together down the halls of the cinema, down past the cinema doors, and entered into separate cinemas at the same time.
Fantastic. To watch different movies.
Yes, we didn't watch the same. We didn't both go and see the new Super Mario Brothers movie in two separate cinemas.
Although it's probably showing in multiple cinemas at the same time.
No, we went and saw, you went and saw. What did you go and see?
I went and saw the film Women Talking.
Yep, and that's enough about that because you didn't choose that as a thing that you finished
No more of that.
Week,
I'm not entitled to any more.
I went and saw, however, the new Dungeons and Dragons. The Thieves Among Us. Thieves Among
Honor
Us.
Among Thieves?
Honor Among Thieves.
I think it should be Thieves
Honor-
Among Us, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Honor Among Thieves. And after we saw that movie, we left and we thought, should we talk about this on the podcast or should we talk about our thoughts on these two movies now? And we both decided at the exact same time as we were walking through the palace courtyard at the exact same pace, left foot, right foot, both of us, same time.
Correct.
No, yeah, we'll save it for the podcast.
We'll save it for the podcast.
And I had a terribly frustrating ride home, not talking about the two films that we just saw at the same time at the same cinema.
This was bizarre. I've been to the cinema by myself a lot, and I'm totally comfortable with the idea of not talking to anyone and kind of coming home and just sitting in it. But to be there with someone who you've shared the trip with was so weird.
Yeah.
And also, obviously, I don't know what your movie was like because we didn't talk about it.
No.
But I had the sense we were in very different emotional states.
Yeah.
But both just agreeing not to talk about it.
It was so
felt
uncomfortable.
Like we were a middle-aged married couple keeping secrets from each other.
Oh.
It was strange.
Yeah, like going to one of our in-laws, parents' house and being like, oh, I hate your in-laws. But we're
Oh, we
just
had
not
such a
gonna-
different experience. I really like them, but let's not discuss it.
Yeah, I hate them. They're
Yeah.
terrible and mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate your mum.
Yeah.
Jonathan or whatever his
Yeah,
name was.
got him.
Yeah, got him. Yeah. So we decided to save it for the podcast.
We did.
Now,
And
Reuben.
I walked away from that idea.
Yep. How soon after that did you walk away from that idea? Because obviously we didn't record that night because I
Yes.
think it was something got in the way.
We were playing War of Whispers that night,
Oh,
actually.
we were playing War of Whispers. That's right.
And Dominion.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so when was it after you played War of Whispers? You said, "Oh
No,
no,
I
screw
didn't.
women talking. I much prefer this board game about being a cult."
No, I didn't decide on War of Whispers until very recently, as I finished it. I'm not sure the exact moment I decided. Part of it was the joke value, definitely, of having you come to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and me just not talking about the film I saw. But I just feel like there are other things that I had more to say about and that I maybe had a more informed voice on. That's most of it.
Great. And now I'm here.
And now you get to talk about your silly Dungeons and
my
Dragons
silly
movie.
Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Do you want to start by telling us your kind of level of acquaintance with D&D prior to this movie?
Sure. It's some to none.
Yep.
If I had to choose it on a scale of some to none,
Yep.
it'd be some to none.
Yeah. What about 1 to 10?
1 to 10?
For ease.
Ooh. A 3?
I would have said about the same.
I
yeah.
think about a 3. Oh, your opinion on mine or
No,
your...
my opinion on yours.
Oh, okay, yeah,
and
that's-
also mine.
Okay, great. I've played some of a campaign of D&D. I really enjoyed my time playing it. I also spent a lot of that time playing it, I feel, just mucking about. And I did spend a lot of it
It's an
mucking
objective
about.
truth.
I spent like a whole session playing D&D where we were meant to be continuing on this big journey, just screwing about and
Yeah.
like
I think
just-
you were trying to get a drink for a significant amount of time. Is that right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah. In the game, I wasn't just like, "Hey, can I please, Dungeon Master?
Jeff
Can I
just
please
kept
get a drink?"
interrupting every 2
No,
minutes. Yeah.
please get out. No,
We've got one joke an episode, everyone.
Yep.
I hope
Last
you
week
enjoy
it
them.
was. It was. Who plays Wednesday and
It was Jenna Ortega, wasn't it?
yeah, it was Jenna Ortega.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so last
So
last
last
episode's
fortnight, yeah.
news.
Mm.
Yeah. So I've had some experience with Dungeons and Dragons. I also know a bit about it just culturally through online and friends and whatever. So I went into this movie thinking I'm gonna know about some of this and not gonna know about the rest of it. Well, I don't know. I don't know how much I'm gonna be like, oh, it's that thing from the thing. But also I hope this movie is okay for novice moviegoers, people
Yeah,
who
you would
don't
hope so, wouldn't you?
yeah, don't have a heavy history in Dungeons and Dragons. And it did.
Fantastic.
It did.
That's what you want to hear.
It was a pretty good movie. I
Okay.
really enjoyed it actually.
Okay, yeah.
It was really fun. It was a really fun, good, well-made movie that
Great.
sent you on a fun fantasy romp that was like witty and funny, but also was interesting in a way that films like this can't be because they aren't Dungeons and Dragons movies. And by that, I mean, there's things about Dungeons and Dragons that's unique to Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop games where it's like, there's a chance that you might do damage here, or, you know, you're stuck in a situation where you need to find out this piece of information and you as a character just need to like interrogate people and say, Jonathan, where's the treasure? Also, I hate your mum.
I hate your mum. And that's, I don't know, maybe there are people telling really serious dramatic stories with tabletop systems. I'm sure there are. But there is such an inherent vehicle for comedy there, right?
It is a great vehicle for comedy, and they utilized it really well.
Yeah.
But they also didn't overutilize it.
Okay, yeah.
There wasn't a lot of meta stuff. There was never... It wasn't like we started the film with, here are real people going into, I don't know, a living room and playing their Dungeons and Dragons game.
That was my number one question.
Yeah, or like post-credit scene.
Yeah.
We zoom out and it's the it's the people who are playing as these characters. It's not a Jumanji situation, the new Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle. It's not like that. It is just in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, which I thought was a big call to make. I wouldn't have minded if they did like some meta stuff, but they really didn't. They just took a Dungeons and Dragons story as it happens in the Dungeons and Dragons world with like as if people were playing it, and just did that story.
Just played it straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was I have some notes here about things that were good. It did have some Dungeons and Dragons deep cuts. Yep. Well, not even deep cuts.
It was like cuts?
You
like when you miss, when you roll like a 7, it's like, yeah, well, you hit, but like, do you really?
That was a good Dungeons and Dragons deep or shallow cut.
Nice.
I'm going to say shallow cut.
I'm going to say shallow.
Like when you roll a 7 and it's like, yeah, you hit, but you...
Well, yeah. Nice. We could be here all day. That was a really nice Dungeons and Dragons deep.
Get out! Like there's the owl bear, and there's when someone's trying to... you see it in the trailer, but they're resurrecting dead bodies. Yep. It's one of my favorite sequences in the movie. They're resurrecting dead bodies, and they're like, okay, I can use this on any dead body. We can ask you 5 questions, and then after that, it's going to be returned to being dead and can never be awoken ever again. And someone's like, why is it 5's pretty arbitrary. Why is it 5? And they're like, look, I don't know. Which was great. That was like the only joke of why is it this arbitrary number? It's not like they kept doing that. So that was good.
That would get tiring and almost break your immersion. Like the meta stuff can cheapen drama. Yeah.
So there were also like things, I guess in a very Dungeons and Dragons way, there was action that were complete flukes. Like the characters try something that's a bit, someone sticks an axe in a dragon's mouth.
Yes.
And it holds it. But then it breaks it immediately afterwards because it's like they tried this ridiculous thing in the hopes that it would work, but then they rolled badly and it didn't work. Yes. And there were sometimes where things like that succeeding, like how did that happen? So it's a massive range of, it's not like these characters are good or bad at their things. It's like they have their things that they do and sometimes they'll be really good or really bad with it, which is really cool. So it also, one of my favorite things, again, back to this is, I guess, going to be a spoiler for like one of my favorite sequences in the film. If you're okay with it,
everyone, I'm okay with that.
Okay,
and listeners can choose their own.
Decide if you're going to watch the Dungeons and Dragons movie or not. I still recommend that you should, even if you hear this. But the bit that where they're, it's not really a spoiler at all, but where they're resurrecting people, these dead bodies in this graveyard, and they only get 5 questions. The first person they ask them questions, and then the main character, Chris Pine, asked a question of one of his team members, and the dead body responded. Oh, it was so that question wasn't meant for you. Okay. And because he added that he was like, okay, and that's another question. Okay, great. So they ran through this dead body and they're like, great, we didn't get any information. What do we do now? And they just dug up another dead body and asked that a bunch of questions. And they're like, oh, I don't know, but maybe Steve over there knows. And they go over to Steve and they ask 5 questions. And so they're just trying to brute force this until they get to Jonathan. They're like, Jonathan, where's the treasure? And I was like, I don't know. And fuck you, I hate your mum. So very good. It's really fun. That was my favorite Dungeons and Dragons thing because I relate to that.
That feels right.
While playing. Yeah, it feels right of just I need this bit of information. I can try and maybe like be charismatic or try
Yeah.
and like do this in a smart way, or I can just brute force it
Yes.
and just
I can light the town on fire and demand the answers out of the fleeing civilians.
exactly. I'll go through all 600 people in this graveyard and ask every single one of them the same 5 questions
Yes.
if it means that I get the answer.
Yes.
So that was a brilliant bit. It really does encompass most of the Dungeons and Dragons basic stuff. Like there's a druid character who gets to wild shape into different animals, which is really cool. There's a wizard. Don't ask me to remember all the weird character.
I wouldn't dream of it.
No.
The different, you mean like classes and
Yeah,
things?
the classes
I
and stuff.
wouldn't dare.
But there is one last thing.
All right.
There's a really cool bit
Mhm.
where in Dungeons and Dragons, there's a thing that you can do which is detect magic. Where maybe if you're in a room, you're like, oh, there might be a magical object here, or this seems like a pretty like regular room, but there's something here that I need to find.
Yeah.
You can do detect magic, which I think is a spell.
I wouldn't know. Don't
I'm
look
pretty
at
sure
me.
it's a spell.
Sounds right.
And
I would love if you kind of use detect magic and it
Mm.
just immediately detected yourself, like a
Oh.
sonar that's like directly on, and it was just kind of drowned out every other signal.
That's
that would
fun.
be really fun.
That'd be fun.
That would amuse me greatly.
But no, so there's detect. You play the spell detect magic, and you roll for it because you roll for everything in D&D.
Sure do.
And if you get low, then you don't detect anything.
Might be there.
Might
Wouldn't
be
you
there.
like
Who
to know?
knows?
Yeah.
It didn't work very well. If you roll really high, then it'll be like, oh yeah, that paperclip in the corner. That's that. It's a possessed paperclip.
It's been possessed by Jonathan's mum.
Jonathan's mum. What's Jonathan's mum doing in a paperclip? That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah, you would like to
Yeah.
know.
I put her there. I hate Jonathan's mum.
Maybe you should kill the paperclip and then you can ask it 5 questions.
Oh, good. I could maybe ask it 5 questions before I killed it. Then I'd be
Yeah.
able to ask 5 more questions.
Yeah, that's
So I
true.
wouldn't have that arbitrary number limit.
That arbitrary number of 5, yeah.
Yeah.
But then the Jonathan's mum in a paperclip would be alive. And I feel like that's
Just snap it
suboptimal.
afterwards.
Oh, you know what?
Actually,
Compelling point.
snapping a paperclip is pretty...
That actually
Because it's
sounds quite
metal,
hard.
it has to, like, you have to bend it, then bend
It's
it the other
also
way,
a
then
possessed
bend it, then bend
paperclip,
it.
so is it going to like fight back and cut off your circulation?
Oh, like Clippy.
Mm.
Like Clippy classically does in the old
Famously.
Microsoft Word. Jumps out of the computer screen and cuts off your circulation. It's a murderous Clippy.
Yeah.
So you can, what is it? Detect magic.
Fantastic.
You roll for detect magic. Get a high number, you detect magic. There's a scene where there's a character that's wild shaped into a very small thing. It's in a room and it's sort of doing some investigation work. And there's a wizard in that room, and it's just the most terrifying moment. I jumped out of my skin when this happened because it's sort of like an evil kind of wizard, and they're just having a conversation, and then they sort of stop for a little bit, and then they point and scream at the top of their lungs, "Get out!" They don't scream, "Get out!" they scream, "There's a wild shape, like there's someone's wild shaped and is in here," and like points directly at it. And it's terrifying because you're like from the perspective of the little animal that a character's turned into. And as a person watching this, I was like, oh, they are like a powerful wizard, and they rolled really high and detected the magic of the wild, like there was a wild shape in that. So that was really cool of just like D&D coming into the movie. Instead of just a character.
Just generic fantasy.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no one can detect that this person is spying on them. Or, yeah, they can always detect if there's someone around them, I guess, for arbitrary reasons.
Roll for it.
You roll for it. Yeah, they rolled for it, and they're like, ah!
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all I'll say on Dungeons & Dragons, but
Sounds great.
really, really good. I really recommend
I
it.
wasn't sure if I was going to watch this. Probably
I'd watch it
wasn't,
again.
And now I think maybe I will.
Yeah, I think you should.
So the funny thing is that we now have 2 options.
Yeah.
Well, a couple. We could always wait for it on streaming. But we could go together.
Yes, we're good.
Or I could go to watch Dungeons & Dragons and you could watch Women Talking.
However, I don't know if Women Talking is still in cinemas.
It's been around for a long time. It might
not
going.
be.
And Mario's here to kind of
What we could
obliterate
do,
everything.
Yeah, that's true. What we could do is wait for it to be on streaming,
And do
then
both on streaming in different rooms.
Yes, I can go in your room and watch women talking. You can go into my room and watch Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, exactly. I think that'd be fun.
We'll keep that in our back pocket.
Yeah, we'll figure out what we're
Special episode. We can do commentaries.
Yeah, excellent. Sounds good. At the same time, we just have them overlap.
Yeah, just talk.
We can't hear each other.
No, we just record into each of our mics, and then we just smush them together in the edit.
Exactly.
Yeah, just like
I think my movie goes on for a bit longer, so we'll have you talking at the end, but that's okay.
That's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine. Might be nice to hear.
No one
just
would
a
listen to
single
the
voice.
end.
No one would listen to any of it. Who are you kidding?
It would be terrible.
But it would be fun to do.
It would be. Yeah. I feel like you're going to have a lot more fun commenting Dungeons and Dragons than me commenting on.
It's a fantastic point.
Yeah. I'll be like, yeah, this is pretty good movie.
Bit grim in it.
Bit grim, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Dungeons and Dragons. Give it a watch.
Fantastic.
So, now on to coming up.
Yes.
Coming up next, the coming up section.
Nice.
Thank you.
Coming up next is me with the coming up section.
Yes.
Look, the Melbourne International Comedy Festival is on.
Oh, it is.
I'm going to go see some things.
Good for you.
I've got one booked in that's kind of seeing someone I vaguely know as a kind of active support, and also hopefully it probably should be good.
Yeah.
And
you're
then
going to go there, you're going to be like, hi, I'm just coming because of you.
I didn't like it, and it was bad.
I also
but I'm
didn't
here for
expect anything.
Yeah, I had low expectations.
I just came because I feel
Bad. Yeah.
I feel bad for
I
you.
feel bad for you. And if anything, this ticket is charity.
Ticket is charity. Yeah.
And then I've also decided that I want to go and see at least one improv thing, because that's something we've done before, and it relates a bit more closely to what I do in my life.
Yeah.
And I massively respect kind of stand-up as an art form, absolutely. But I want to see some more improv.
I think I've only really seen one improv thing in the past comedy festival. Oh, not even comedy I don't know what improv I saw in the comedy festival. I think it was
maybe part of Rising Festival that we went to that. Unless they crossed over.
Yeah, I know. I don't think it was, because it was at the start of this year or end of last. Yeah, so I've only seen one improv thing. Never seen an improv thing as part of the comedy festival, despite very much wanting to.
Yeah.
For extra context, I'm not seeing anything this comedy festival. I have nothing booked in. I could maybe see something. I love the comedy festival. It is my favorite time of year.
It is.
It's just financially not a good time of year for me right now.
Honestly, it kind of threw me when you didn't bring it up, because I kind of missed the first week and a half, and there's only a week and a half left.
I had
it's not your fault.
Whole spreadsheet last year.
You had spreadsheets.
I saw
spreadsheets.
At least 4 things a week, and doubled up on some days.
It was crazy.
It was insane. I had a great time, but kind of sad that I'm not going to anything. But I'm also sort of like, it went last year. Don't have to go this year.
Have a break.
So what's a comedy? Maybe you don't want to shout it out since you just said you're only going for charity.
No, look, I'll talk about it if it feels right to talk about in the future, and if not, it'll just be something that I finished just for me,
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Keeping it close to your chest, because you don't want to be yelled at by whatever friend this is.
That's right. And also, I don't know. I like to keep the kind of what we're going to do a little bit secret. I feel like.
Hi guys. So coming up next, wouldn't you like to know? Really engaging
I see what
content.
You've done there. Now you said you were almost out of things, so I'm curious to see what you've got in the last minute bucket down here. I'm sure there's plenty. I'm sure there's so much.
So the thing that's coming up that I want to engage with is a show called Swarm.
Okay.
Now,
I've never heard of this.
You haven't heard of Swarm.
This excites me. I've never heard of this.
Okay. I haven't either.
Wow.
Kind of.
Well, you must have.
Well,
on account of the fact that you just mentioned it by name.
I really vaguely heard of it.
Okay.
So it's a new show by Donald Glover.
Okay.
Also with someone else. Can't remember who else, because my connection to it is mainly Donald Glover, because I love Atlanta. It's one of my favorite shows. Donald Glover's phenomenal. So I'm really excited for anything that he's involved with. So it's a new show by Donald Glover. The way that I found out about this show is really interesting. The first interaction that I had with this show is my partner said, "Hey, there's a new song that Childish Gambino has out." I said, "What?"
Yeah.
Listened to it. I was like, this is interesting.
Yes.
Also, not by Childish Gambino, featuring Childish Gambino.
Do you want to clarify the pseudonym that you're using for anyone not in the know?
No.
Okay, great. Carry on.
separately though, separate to that,
Yep.
Childish Gambino is the pseudonym for Donald Glover. It's the artist name he uses for his music. So it was a song. It said Swarm as the like album.
Does it say
art.
like official soundtrack?
No,
Yeah.
but I
okay.
also didn't look into it that much. I
Yeah.
just sort of listened to the song. It's also now become weirdly my up next song in Spotify. Like anytime I play a playlist and
Yep.
that playlist finishes
it'll
it's like
jump there.
this is the song
Yeah.
you're listening to next. It was a Billie Eilish song for a while.
Interesting.
But Spotify always finds like
Yeah, I
one
wonder
thing
how
that
it chooses that.
I don't
Yeah.
know. So I didn't know that it was from a show.
Mhm.
Turns out it's from the show Swarm. So I had that experience. And then separately to that, I had the experience of being on TikTok, seeing an ad, which is a clip from a show that is one actress who I don't know,
Yes.
who seemed to be the main character, talking to Billie Eilish.
Crazy.
Yeah, but I guess as a character in this show.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is a new thing, I guess, and then swipe past it. I've never really watched it. I don't know any of the dialogue from it. And then separately to that, I then found out through something else, I can't remember how, but Donald Glover has a new show out. And that's when I started like piecing together all of these different weird experiences that I've had interacting with this. I'm like, okay, Donald Glover, new show, new music, swarm, and all swarm together like a
very
big buzzing
meta.
bees of
Yes.
things. Yeah, so it's a
Great.
new show. I think it's on Amazon. So I haven't watched it yet.
Regrettable. Yes.
But it seems really interesting. I'm just gonna bring up the show synopsis right now, just very quickly. Swarm is about. Here we go. This is the Wikipedia. Swarm is an American satirical comedy horror thriller television series created by Janine Neighbors and Donald Glover. The series follows Dre, who's Dominic Fishback, a young woman whose obsession with a pop star takes a dark turn. That's all I know about it.
Final question. Have you watched a trailer?
No.
Okay. Great.
I'm really just going to go into this blind and I'm going to have a good time. I hope, like, yeah, again, love anything that Donald Glover has created so far.
Yeah.
So looking forward to this. But yeah, it's just, I think also the mystery of all of it is really intriguing me. Yeah. So that's what's coming up for me.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you watch that. I will maybe finish the remaining seasons of Atlanta.
Oh,
Unless I forget again.
I also haven't watched season 4. I need to watch season 4.
Okay.
So maybe we can
Well,
watch
maybe
that
I'll
together.
catch up and then.
Or maybe we can watch it in two separate rooms at the same time.
You watch season 4 while I watch season 3.
Oh, I was thinking you watch season 3, then we watch season 4 at the same
Together
time. Two
in
separate
separate
rooms.
rooms.
We can be in our own room for this.
Fantastic.
But then we record a commentary.
Yes.
Still separately though.
Yep.
So
Smush them together.
so they still overlap.
Yeah,
We're just talking nonsense on
Fantastic.
top of each other. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
I think it would be good. Yeah. Excellent. So yeah. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Everyone.
That's us.
That's us. We did that. We did the started it. We did
Yep.
the finished it.
And
We did the get out joke.
Oh, very, very
Thank
good.
you.
We did do that joke. And now we do this weird outro bit where we both just kind of riff for a little while. And none of it's really any good. And then in the edit, we decide where the show ends.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it now?
Yeah.
No, it's not now.
Oh,
I tricked you.
We did
tricked
so
you.
well. We wound it right down.
Yeah.
I thought we were winding it up. And
No,
then,
I just want to say if you want to
Yeah.
rate us stars on any podcast
Yeah.
thing,
yes.
if this isn't when it's
this makes it
if you
out
enjoy
into the
this
world.
or if you don't enjoy it,
Yes.
rate us stars.
Yes.
Write a review.
Write a review.
Say how much you love us talking about things that we try and explain and probably do a bad job of explaining.
Just write a review that says "Get out" in all caps, and
Ooh.
we'll know what you mean.
Write a review saying Jonathan's mum sucks.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
thank you.
Yeah.
Write a review saying Jenna Ortega because you're a real one who listened from the first episode.
Yeah, you're a true fan.
a true fan.
We see you.
We
That's
can't.
all right. This is an audio
audio medium. We've
And
been
we don't know
over
who
this.
you are.
No.
And you don't exist yet.
If you write a review, you can write your little name there. You can be like,
then we'll see you.
"Bye, Jonathan's mum." Anyways, this is yep. That's write a review. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Get out!